Jack tapped the console of the observation deck with a rhythmic uncertainty. As the sole xenobiologist at the remote interstellar research facility, perched on the edge of the cerulean rift, days, no, weeks, could pass without a hint of irregularity. But today was different. The console flickered, signaling an unauthorized entry into the system's perimeter. An alien craft, small and nimble, had appeared on his radar. Probably just a comet fragment caught in the drift, murmured Jack, more to the empty room than to reassure himself. But as the blip steadied and grew more deliberate in its path, Jack's scientific curiosity overrode his skepticism. He toggled the communication line open. Unidentified craft, this is Station Delta 4 of the Terran Outreach Initiative. Please state your identity and purpose. The silence that followed was dense, almost malleable. Then, a crackle and a voice, melodic and uncertain, answered, "This is Ayla of Thalaxia. I require immediate refuge. My craft has sustained damage." Jack's hand paused above the alarm. Thalaxia? The name wasn't familiar, a rare occurrence for someone with his extensive training. Your request for refuge is granted, Ayla of Thalaxia. Follow the beacon for docking guidance. We'll prepare for your arrival. Minutes later, Jack watched from the observation deck as the sleek, silver craft touched down gently in the hangar bay. The hatch opened with a hiss, and a figure stepped out. Ayla was undeniably alien, yet humanoid. Her skin shimmered like moonlit water, and her eyes, a deep violet, regarded him with an intensity that took his breath away. Jack extended his hand, a human gesture of greeting. "Welcome to Station Delta 4, Ayla." Ayla took his hand, her touch cool and smooth. "Thank you, Jack. I am in your debt." They walked through the corridors of the station, Jack explaining the layout and Ayla listening intently. "I must apologize for my unannounced arrival," she said, her voice a quiet reflection of gratitude and anxiety. "My navigation system failed after a micrometeoroid storm. I drifted until I picked up your station's signal." "No need to apologize," Jack assured her. "You're safe here. Let's get you settled, and then we can assess the damage to your craft." In the guest quarters, Jack showed Ayla the amenities she might find comforting. "The station isn't much," he confessed, "but we have running water, food, and medical supplies." Ayla's gaze lingered on the shelves lined with books and digital data pads. "You have a collection of knowledge here," she noted, a hint of wonder in her tone. Jack chuckled. "A lot of downtime between research projects. If you need to rest, I'll leave you to it. Otherwise, I'm eager to hear more about Thalaxia." "I would appreciate the company," she admitted, sitting down. "Thalaxia is far from here, a planet of oceans and archipelagos. But tell me about Earth." "I know little beyond the data fragments in the Universal Compendium." They spoke for hours, exchanging stories of their respective worlds. Jack was fascinated by Ayla's descriptions of Thalaxian society, a civilization where art and science flowed as one, where harmony with their environment was more than philosophy, it was practice. As the station's chronometer signaled the end of the standard cycle, Jack stood, reluctant to end the conversation. "I should let you sleep. We can talk more tomorrow, and I'll take a look at your ship." Ayla rose as well, her expression softening. "Thank you, Jack. I haven't felt this, at peace in cycles." "I'm glad," Jack replied, feeling a surprising warmth spread through him. "Good night, Ayla." "Good night, Jack." As he left the quarters, Jack couldn't help but feel that the unexpected arrival of the Thalaxian might just be the beginning of something extraordinary. The next morning, Jack met with Dr. Liu, the station's chief engineer, to discuss the unexpected guest and the damaged Thalaxian craft. "It's beyond anything we've worked on before," Jack mentioned as they walked toward the hangar. "Her technology might be light years ahead, or just radically different." Dr. Liu, a meticulous man with a penchant for puzzles, rubbed his hands together. "That sounds like a challenge I'm ready to accept. Let's see what we're dealing with." In the hangar, Ayla's craft gleamed under the artificial lights, its contours smooth and almost organic. Ayla, already there examining a side panel, looked up and greeted them with a nod. "I was just assessing the damage. I fear the repairs might require components not readily available here." Jack introduced Dr. Liu, who who circled the craft with a professional curiosity. "Tell us what you need. Maybe we have materials that can serve, or perhaps we can fabricate the parts." As Ayla explained the specifics, a list of exotic-sounding materials and energy requirements, Dr. Liu took notes, occasionally asking for clarifications. Jack watched, impressed by the dialogue, a blend of technical jargon and innovative thinking. After the examination, the trio headed to the station's workshop. "We might not have the exact materials, but I think we can improvise with some of the alloys we have," Dr. Liu suggested, pulling up inventory lists on a screen. Ayla looked relieved. "Your willingness to help is more than I expected." "Thank you. It's what we're here for," Jack said, smiling. "Let's get to work." The following days turned into a collaborative effort not just to repair the craft but to integrate Ayla into the station's routines. Between work sessions, Ayla shared meals with the crew, her presence at the station becoming something of a curiosity and a novelty. One evening, while sharing a dinner of rehydrated vegetables and protein rations, one of the station's biologists, Tom, asked Ayla about Thalaxian cuisine. Ayla's description of meals based on aquatic plants and sea creatures sparked an idea in Jack. "Maybe you'd like to try your hand at cooking something for us?" Jack suggested. "If we have ingredients that are somewhat similar to what you use, it could be a fun experiment." Ayla agreed enthusiastically. The next day, they gathered in the small station kitchen with an assortment of food supplies that might approximate Thalaxian ingredients. Ayla instructed them on how to prepare a simple stew using seaweed analogs and textured vegetable protein flavored with salts and spices to mimic her home cooking. As they cooked, Jack and the crew followed Ayla's directions, chopping, stirring, and tasting under her watchful eye. The kitchen filled with laughter and the unfamiliar but enticing aromas of what could only be described as an alien recipe. When they finally sat down to eat, the crew was pleasantly surprised by the flavor. "You've turned our basic supplies into something amazing," Dr. Liu declared, helping himself to a second serving. Ayla looked pleased. "It's comforting to share a piece of my home with new friends." Over the meal, conversation turned to tales of home and travels, the crew sharing stories of Earth and their missions, while Ayla recounted her explorations of distant star systems and the wonders she'd seen. It was clear that what started as an emergency landing was becoming a fruitful exchange. Jack felt a sense of camaraderie that went beyond the usual scientific curiosity. They were no longer just hosts to an alien visitor. They were comrades, learning and growing through shared experiences. As the evening wound down, Jack and Ayla lingered over the remnants of their meal. "You know," Jack said thoughtfully, "every day you're here, I realize how much we can learn from each other. I'm really glad you landed here, Ayla." Ayla's violet eyes reflected the soft lighting. "So am I, Jack. So am I." The integration of Ayla into the life of the station was becoming smoother by the day, and Jack planned a cultural exchange evening to deepen the bond between the crew and their Thalaxian guest. "It's a night where we all share something from our cultures," Jack explained to Ayla as they prepared the common room for the event. "Music, stories, art, anything that speaks to who we are." Ayla was intrigued. "I would like to share a traditional Thalaxian dance. It's quite expressive and tells a story of our connection to the sea." Jack was instantly enthusiastic. "That sounds perfect. And we'll have some music and poetry readings from Earth. It'll be a night of learning and enjoyment." As the crew gathered, the common room was abuzz with excitement. Tom brought his guitar, and Dr. Liu, surprisingly, had prepared a slideshow of traditional Chinese paintings, narrating their historical significance. The crew lounged around, drinks in hand, as each presentation sparked conversations and laughter. When it was Ayla's turn, the room quieted in anticipation. She stood gracefully, her silvery skin shimmering slightly under the soft lights. "I am going to teach you a dance," she announced. "It's called the Marana. It's performed during our Festival of Tides." The crew watched, mesmerized, as Ayla demonstrated the flowing, wave-like movements. "Now, I need a partner," she said, looking directly at Jack. "Jack, would you join me?" Jack felt a flutter of nerves, but stepped forward with a willing smile. "I'll give it my best shot." Ayla took his hands, guiding him through the motions. "The dance mimics the ocean's currents. Feel the ebb and flow, just like waves lapping on the shore. As they moved together, the rest of the crew clapped along, caught up in the beauty of the alien choreography. Jack found himself lost in the rhythm and the feel of Ayla's hands in his, their bodies moving in sync. The dance ended with a final, elegant pose, leaving Jack and Ayla close, breathing faster, their faces inches apart. The room erupted in applause, but for a moment, Jack and Ayla seemed to be the only two people in the universe. "Thank you, Jack," Ayla whispered, her eyes not leaving his. "Thank you, Ayla." That was, Jack searched for the right word, beautiful. As the evening wound down, the pair found themselves at the observation window, looking out at the star-filled void. "Ayla, I've been thinking," Jack began, hesitant. "We've all learned a lot from you. But what have you taken from us?" Ayla turned to face him, her expression thoughtful. "I have learned of your kindness," she said softly, "and how diverse yet similar your cultures are. It is heartening." Jack nodded, feeling the weight of her words. "It's the same with us. You've brought something unique to the station, Ayla." Their conversation drifted to less weighty topics: favorite foods, colors, the feel of sand underfoot. Simple things that revealed more about each other than either expected. As they talked, their earlier physical closeness during the dance seemed to linger, an unspoken connection growing between them. Finally, Ayla stood to leave. "It's late. I should get some rest." Jack felt a reluctance to end the night. "Ayla, would you like to do this again? Just us, maybe? Share more about each other?" Ayla's smile was all the answer he needed. "I would like that very much, Jack." As she walked away, Jack watched her go, feeling something shift inside him. The evening had started as a simple cultural exchange and ended with a revelation, not just of cultures and histories, but of personal boundaries expanding and new, unexpected feelings emerging. He realized he was looking forward to exploring whatever was unfolding between them. Jack paced the corridor outside Ayla's quarters, his pulse quickening. It had been a few days since the cultural exchange evening, and every interaction since then carried a charge he couldn't ignore. Tonight, he had asked Ayla to join him in the observation lounge for a quieter moment, away from the bustling routines of the station. The door to Ayla's room slid open, and she stepped out, her silvery skin catching the low lights of the corridor. "Jack," she said, a warmth in her voice that eased the tension he didn't realize he was holding. "I've been looking forward to this." "Me too," Jack replied, smiling as he gestured for her to follow. They walked side by side through the station, the subtle hum of the life support systems filling the silence between them. The observation lounge was dimly lit, its vast window stretching across an entire wall to reveal the swirling stars and nebulae outside. Jack had set up a table with a couple of warm drinks and a small platter of dried fruit. "I thought we could make this a little different from the usual mess hall gathering," Jack said, motioning for Ayla to sit. Ayla took in the scene and sat with a gentle nod. "You thought of everything," she said, her eyes flicking up to meet his. They shared a small, knowing smile. They talked about their day, their respective tasks, and the progress on the repairs to Ayla's craft. But soon the conversation drifted to more personal topics. Jack found himself telling Ayla stories about growing up in the countryside on Earth, his childhood fascination with the night sky, and how he ended up on a remote station light years away from home. "You always wanted to be among the stars," Ayla noted, her voice soft with understanding. "Yes, I suppose I did," Jack admitted, leaning back in his chair. "But being out here, it's not just about the stars anymore. It's about the people you find along the way." He paused, feeling the weight of his words. "Or the ones who find you." Ayla's expression shifted, a shadow of vulnerability passing through her eyes. "I never expected to feel connected in a place like this," she said. "It's strange how meeting someone so different can make you feel more at home than ever." The room fell silent for a moment, the distant hum of the station the only sound. Jack reached out and covered Ayla's hand with his. Her skin was cooler than his but warmed under his touch. She looked down at their hands and then back up, a faint smile playing on her lips. "Jack," she whispered, "what are we doing here?" He leaned forward, his eyes searching hers for any hesitation. "We're finding out what this is," he said, voice barely more than a breath. And then he kissed her, softly, tentatively, as if testing the waters. Ayla's response was immediate. She pressed forward, deepening the kiss as her fingers traced the lines of his jaw. Jack felt a rush of emotion, the sensation of closeness more intense than he had expected. When they parted, both were breathing unevenly, eyes locked in shared understanding. Ayla stood and took his hand, guiding him toward the window. They stood together, looking out at the endless expanse. In Thalaxian culture, she began, we believe the stars watch over us, bearing witness to moments of significance. Jack tightened his hold on her hand. Then let them watch, he said, turning her face toward his and brushing his lips against hers once more. The hours melted away as they stood together, talking in low voices, touching, learning the language of closeness without needing to say it aloud. Jack traced the gentle curves of her shoulders and back, feeling the subtle shiver as she moved against him. Ayla's fingers skimmed the edges of his shirt, and with a shared glance of understanding, they made their way to the quarters down the corridor. Their intimacy unfolded slowly, with whispers and laughter that were as much part of the act as the touch itself. They explored the spaces between them, closing gaps with kisses and the warmth of skin against skin. It was an exchange not just of passion, but of trust and discovery. Jack found himself amazed by how familiar and new it felt at the same time. Later, as they lay together under the soft glow of the station's ambient lights, Jack turned to Ayla and brushed a strand of silver hair from her face. "This changes everything, doesn't it?" he asked, half rhetorical. Ayla met his eyes, her expression softening. "Yes, it does, and I welcome it." Jack's mind drifted to the days ahead, to what it would mean to share more than just space and time with Ayla. But at that moment, as they lay entwined, it was enough just to know that whatever the future held, they would face it together. Jack stood outside Ayla's quarters, his hand hovering just above the comm panel. He took a breath, willing his heart to slow down. When the door slid open, Ayla's violet eyes met his, a soft smile playing on her lips. "Jack," she said, a warmth in her voice that settled his nerves. "I'm glad you came." "Me too," Jack replied, the tension in his chest easing. "I thought we could spend some time in the observation lounge." "Just us." Ayla nodded. "That sounds perfect." They walked side by side down the corridor, the muted hum of the station's systems the only sound. The lounge was quiet, dimly lit, and the stars outside the large viewport seemed to shimmer with a life of their own. Jack had set up a small table with drinks and a tray of dried fruit. "You've been busy," Ayla said, her eyes bright with amusement. Jack shrugged. "I figured we could make tonight special." They sat, sipping warm drinks as conversation flowed between them. Jack talked about his early days on Earth, the sprawling fields where he used to stargaze as a kid. Ayla listened intently, her gaze softening with each story. "I can almost see it," she said, her voice wistful. "We don't have fields like that on Thalaxia. The oceans stretch far, with islands dotting the horizon." "It sounds beautiful," Jack said. He reached across the table and took her hand, surprised at how natural it felt. Ayla looked at their intertwined fingers, then back at him. "It is, but it's different being here. It feels different with you." Jack's pulse quickened. "I know what you mean. This place, meeting you, it's changed things for me." Silence settled between them, heavy with unspoken words. Jack moved closer, his eyes searching hers for any sign of doubt. When he found none, he leaned in and kissed her, softly at first. Ayla's lips were cool, but she responded with a warmth that made his heart race. When they pulled apart, Ayla whispered, "I didn't know if this would happen, but I'm glad it has." Jack brushed a stray lock of silvery hair from her face. "Me too," he said, a grin breaking through. "I guess we're both a little surprised." They stayed there, leaning into each other, talking in low voices as the stars watched over them. Ayla's hand traced the line of Jack's arm, and he pulled her closer, feeling the calm settle over him. "Do you think we should take this further?" Ayla asked, her voice barely above a whisper. "I think we already have," Jack replied, meeting her gaze with a smile. "But let's not stop now." They moved together, hands exploring, kisses deepening. The shared touches spoke more than any words could, their breaths mingling as they pressed closer. Ayla's fingers found the edge of his shirt, and with a shared look of understanding, they let the world outside fade away. In that moment, it wasn't about the station, the stars, or the distance from their home worlds. It was just Jack and Ayla, learning the language of closeness, discovering what it meant to be together in this unexpected place. "I never imagined this," Ayla said later, her voice filled with something close to wonder. "Neither did I," Jack said, holding her close. "But I'm glad we're here." The days passed swiftly as Jack and Ayla prepared for the arrival of their child. The station buzzed with an unusual energy, each crew member contributing in their own way to help set up a suitable space for the soon-to-be family. Jack stood in the workshop with Dr. Liu, examining a bundle of materials. "I think these will work for the crib frame," Dr. Liu said, pushing a blueprint across the table. "It's lightweight and durable." Jack nodded, eyes scanning the design. "Perfect. I'll start on it today." "Thanks, Liu." Dr. Liu smirked. "Who knew we'd be building nursery furniture out here? This place sure has changed." Jack laughed. "Yeah, never thought I'd be a dad on a space station." He paused, his expression softening. "But I wouldn't have it any other way." As Jack assembled the crib, Ayla entered the workshop, her presence instantly lighting up the room. "How is it going?" she asked, peering over his shoulder. "Almost done," Jack replied, tightening a bolt. He straightened up and turned to face her. "What do you think?" Ayla touched the frame lightly, her fingers tracing the smooth metal. "It's wonderful. Our child will sleep peacefully here." Jack smiled, a mix of pride and anticipation warming his chest. "I hope so. It's all new, but we'll figure it out together." They moved to the common area, where the crew had gathered small decorations and bits of fabric to make the quarters more welcoming. Tom was draping a colorful cloth across a small shelf. "Hey, Jack, Ayla, what do you think?" "Too much." Ayla's eyes sparkled. "It's perfect, Tom." "Thank you." Tom grinned, giving a playful salute. "Anything for the station's newest member." As the crew dispersed, Jack and Ayla stood side by side, taking in the changes. The sterile, utilitarian space now had small touches of warmth and life. It felt more like home than ever before. Jack leaned in, his voice quiet. "It's amazing how everyone's come together for this." Ayla looked up at him, her expression tender. "It's not just for me, Jack. It's for you, for us." He reached for her hand, holding it firmly. "You know, I used to think this station was just a place for work, a way to keep chasing the unknown. Now it feels like everything I didn't know I was looking for." They spent the rest of the day finalizing details, arranging and rearranging the space until it felt just right. When the station lights dimmed to signal night, Jack and Ayla sat on the edge of the crib, their fingers intertwined. "Are you nervous?" Ayla asked, her voice breaking the comfortable silence. Jack considered the question, exhaling slowly. "A little, but I'm more excited. Nervous about what's to come, sure, but excited that we're facing it together." Ayla squeezed his hand, her gaze thoughtful. "On Thalaxia, we believe that bringing new life is a shared journey. Each step, each moment, is a part of that story. I never imagined I'd share this with a human." "Me neither," Jack said, grinning. "But I'm glad it's you." A soft chime interrupted their conversation, signaling an incoming message. Dr. Liu's voice filled the room. "Hey, just a heads up, I checked on those supplies. Everything's set for tomorrow's medical review." Jack nodded, pressing the response button. "Thanks, Liu. We'll be there." As the message ended, Ayla leaned her head against Jack's shoulder. The quiet of the station surrounded them, the vastness of space outside feeling both distant and close. It wasn't just the preparations for a child they had made. It was the preparation for a new chapter of their lives, one they would face side by side. Jack paced the narrow corridor outside the medical bay, a nervous energy coursing through him. Inside, Ayla was surrounded by Dr. Liu and the medical team, their voices a mixture of calm instructions and reassurances. He ran his fingers through his hair, glancing up at the ceiling as if the stars outside could offer some comfort. "Jack," Tom's voice cut through his thoughts as he approached. a kind smile on his face. She's in good hands. You know that, right? I do, Jack nodded, but his feet kept moving, a restless march. It's just, waiting here feels wrong. I should be in there. Before Tom could respond, the door slid open, and Dr. Liu stepped out, a broad grin on his face. Jack, come in. Ayla wants you. Jack's heart skipped as he pushed past and entered the softly lit room. Ayla lay on the medical bed, a serene exhaustion on her face. In her arms was a small bundle, eyes barely open, the slightest hint of silver in their gaze. Come, Jack, Ayla said, her voice soft but clear. Meet our daughter. He moved closer, the world narrowing down to the tiny, perfect being in her arms. He reached out tentatively, brushing a small hand with his finger. The baby grasped it, and Jack felt a swell of emotion that made his chest tighten. She's beautiful, he managed, eyes glistening. Ayla looked up at him, her own eyes reflecting the same awe. She's ours. A blend of two worlds. The crew peeked in through the doorway, hesitant smiles on their faces. Tom raised an eyebrow. Looks like the station's just become a lot more lively. Jack laughed, a release of tension and joy. You're right about that, Tom. Dr. Liu stepped forward, clearing his throat. Congratulations, both of you. We'll give you some space, but we're here if you need anything. As the crew left, the room quieted again, leaving just the three of them. Jack sat beside Ayla, still watching the baby in wonder. Have you thought of a name? He asked, glancing at her. Ayla smiled, a tired but bright expression. Lyra, she whispered. After the constellation we saw together on our first night, Jack's heart warmed at the memory. Lyra, he repeated, the name rolling off his tongue as if it had always been meant for her. It's perfect. They sat in silence, the weight of the moment sinking in. The station's usual hum felt softer, almost as if it too acknowledged the significance of the new life cradled in Ayla's arms. Ayla shifted slightly, passing Lyra to Jack. He took her carefully, amazed at how light she felt, yet how monumental the responsibility was. Lyra opened her eyes, glancing up at him with a curious, unfocused gaze. Hey there, Lyra, he said quietly, the room around them blurring as he stared at his daughter. Welcome to the world. Ayla rested her head on Jack's shoulder, exhaustion finally pulling her eyelids down. We did this, Jack, she murmured. Together. Yes, we did, he said, holding Lyra close, feeling the weight of her tiny heartbeat against him. He glanced out of the window at the expanse of stars, realizing that everything had changed, not just in their small corner of the universe, but within himself. The future was no longer a vague concept marked by distant missions and data collection. It was here, held in his arms, looking up at him with eyes that reflected the light of two worlds. Weeks passed, and life on the station found a new rhythm. The arrival of Lyra had transformed everything. The once sterile corridors now echoed with the soft sounds of a newborn, laughter, and conversations that carried a sense of warmth. Jack sat at the observation lounge, Lyra cradled in his arms as Ayla watched with a soft smile. The stars outside glistened, familiar yet different. She seems fascinated by the lights, Jack said, noticing Lyra's wide eyes staring at the vastness beyond the window. She will grow up knowing that her life began here. Among the stars, Ayla replied. It's a story few can tell. Tom wandered in, holding a small stuffed toy he'd fashioned out of fabric scraps. Is she awake? He asked, his grin wide as he saw Lyra's tiny fists waving in the air. Barely, Jack chuckled. But she'll never say no to another visitor. Tom placed the toy beside Lyra, watching as her small fingers brushed against it. You two are raising a star traveler, he said. Think she'll follow in your footsteps? Jack exchanged a look with Ayla. Maybe, he said, but whatever she chooses, it'll be her path. Ayla nodded. On Thalaxia, children are taught to embrace their own journeys. Lyra will have both worlds to draw from, and that is more than I ever imagined. Dr. Liu joined them, taking a seat with a steaming cup in hand. Jack, we got a message from Command, he said. They want to send a supply ship with more materials for upgrades, and they want to report on Lyra. Jack raised an eyebrow. A report? They're curious, Dr. Liu said with a shrug. I guess they didn't expect an interstellar family out here. Jack laughed. Neither did we. He looked at Lyra and then at Ayla, an idea forming. Ayla, what if we take her to Thalaxia? Let her see the world that's half of who she is. Ayla's eyes lit up. You would come? Leave the station? Jack nodded. For you and Lyra, I would. It's time to see beyond these walls. Tom clapped his hands together. Looks like we're going to need to throw a goodbye party soon. Dr. Liu raised his cup. To new adventures. Over the next few days, the crew worked tirelessly to prepare Ayla's repaired ship for the journey. Jack moved through the tasks with a sense of excitement and anticipation. The station felt like it had been their world, but now it was a launch point for something greater. The night before their departure, Jack and Ayla stood together in the observation lounge. Lyra slept peacefully in a makeshift crib nearby. The stars stretched before them, endless and full of possibilities. Are you ready for this? Ayla asked, her voice steady but tinged with emotion. Jack took her hand. I am. It's not just about the stars anymore. It's about where they lead us. They watched in silence for a moment, the weight of the journey ahead sinking in. Jack felt the quiet hum of the station around them, the only home Lyra had known so far, and a place that had given him so much more than he had ever expected. Jack, Ayla whispered, leaning into him. This is just the beginning. He turned, brushing a kiss against her forehead. It is. And whatever comes next, we'll face it together. The next day, as the station's systems bid them farewell with a low, resonant chime, Jack, Ayla, and Lyra boarded the ship. The crew waved, their faces a mix of sadness and joy. The engines hummed to life, and the ship lifted away, leaving behind the station that had once been Jack's whole world. As the stars shifted around them, Jack looked at Ayla and Lyra, feeling a sense of peace he hadn't known before. The journey was uncertain, but he knew one thing. He wasn't navigating it alone. Ayla reached over and touched his arm, a silent reminder of all they had overcome and what awaited them. Home, she said, eyes bright with anticipation. Jack nodded, eyes on the vast expanse before them. Home.